and Cindy Wells. Okay, we have 1, 2,
Here.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll move on to review and approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Has everybody read them?
Yes.
If not, we'll have to read them.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as read.
Yeah, I'll take a motion to review
I'll make a
to
motion
approve
to
the minutes.
approve the minutes as read.
Tim,
Oh, wait. Oh, go ahead.
is there any
Second.
corrections? Who's the second?
Don Crenshaw.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, they are approved. We will move on to hearing of the public. Is there anybody that would like to speak to the commission? At this
Charles,
time?
can we back up just a hot moment, or not back up, but just acknowledge that we do have some other people in the meeting with us that you probably are not able to see on your side of things.
No, I don't.
Yep, so we have Autumn Parker, who joined us last meeting. So I'm making a note here, as well as Holly Ettinger, who is going to be presenting on CPACE this evening. And we have Andrew Parkin and Mike Baker, who will be talking to us about GIS. And then Cindy, I see Gary Wells on here. I don't know if that's just a duplicate of the number that you called in on, or
That's
if Gary's
me.
joining us. Okay, that is you. Okay. All right.
That's just me. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Hi, Cindy.
we've got that.
Hi.
So those, and we have Michael Orr joining us as well. So I just wanted to make you aware of kind of all of those extra people that are in the mix this evening.
Okay.
So there are 5. Okay, can we move on to hearing of the public?
Yes,
Who
sir.
would like to speak first?
If y'all don't mind, I would like to go ahead and present, just because I have a meeting at 6:30 and I'm not good at time management. So we're just going to go for it.
Hi, sure.
All right. Hi, everyone. Again, if you aren't familiar with me, my name is Autumn Parker, and I presented last meeting about a project that me and a few other local Erie representatives are excited to bring and help foster community, and specifically addressing components of racism as it was declared last year a public health crisis on September 8th, 2020. And so I thought I'd do a quick presentation for you all, so you also have visuals, if that's also how you digest and process information. Honey, do you care if I share my screen?
Not at all. It's enabled. So screen share is enabled. It's all you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, everyone's favorite question. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay, so here we go again. The project is called Undesign the Red Line, and these again are updates. Quick agenda, recap of last meeting, which I already went over. Second being our logo design, because I think that's imperative to understanding how we're going to be able to engage the community and what we own as a contentious topic, but definitely one that needs to be addressed. And then 3, our website and Facebook page that are now up and running, and 4, our fundraising ask. So again, reiterating our needs from you all and your connections and resources. So again, really quickly, Erie We is an interactive community building project. So that's our name, and we are bringing the nationally recognized Undesign the Red Line program to Erie County to help us address the effects of redlining and the effects of racism that was again acknowledged as a public health crisis by Erie County PA government on September 8, 2020. Next, here's our logo. This is fresh and new, and I'm so excited to present it to you because there's definitely some empowering processes behind why this was designed this way. And so first, I just want to address that this is the Erie railroad sign that's quite well known nationally, along with the Erie International Airport with ERI spelled out that way. And what we wanted to address, which is part of the Undesign the Red Line program, is that history of redlining as a component of racism that was perpetuated by even the railroad of dividing many community members and community neighborhoods from one another. However, it connected us at the same time in transporting us to the places we need. So we wanted to play off that look along with the greenery that kind of elicits that notion of collectiveness and unity to really kind of encourage people to not be scared of this topic and to be scared to engage in this collective community work of conversation, and know that this is more of a unified front of rectifying this as a collective community, and it's not just on one person to solve it. Next in line, I just want to show that again, we are in the process of engaging the community proactively. So Janelle, who is our, excuse me, I'm blinking on this. She is our, Lisa, can you help me with some words? I'm blanking on her role for us.
Fiscal agent.
Yes, she's our fiscal agent. Thank you so much. She created this website along with our Facebook page, and she's also overseeing the donation component of this page. So please, I will actually send this slide to Honey so she can share with you all too. So you have this website. Next in line, this is our Facebook page. Within the last week, we've had 30 increased followers. So I'm not sure if anyone's a data or an analytics person, but within a week's time, that's quite impressive for getting the word out and engaging people in this work. And then last but not least, our fundraising ask. So the last time I came to you, I presented the proposal and within it that 5-step implementation phase and what that would all require physically for us to bring this project and bring the overall program here. And our starting goal is $10,000. And we have raised $700 thus far with both internal and external donors. So we know that the momentum is there and we really want to capitalize on that. And we are not dismissing the importance of small donations because we know small things add to the big picture. But we also recognize that there are individuals, key stakeholders that we also know you have connections with who may be in more of a financial capacity to give more, especially to such a community building project. So I'm really just coming to you and I'm asking you to be intentional about identifying 1 or 2 people who could potentially donate $500 to this project, a minimum, to help get us quickly on our feet so that we can start engaging more community members who want to be part of our steering committee. And so we need people to help us execute the work. There are 6 of us right now as the core component, but we had our first public meeting this past Wednesday, and it was really awesome to see the turnout and people who were interested in involving themselves and helping us execute this work. And we want to make sure that we compensate them as well for their time and energy and effort in bringing this project to life. And so again, recognizing that there may be individuals, key stakeholders that you are aware of who could give $500, that would really help us be able to compensate others for this work and get us moving ahead in line with our phase implementation. So that is essentially my presentation. I know I spoke really fast. I may have been a little reiterative, but I want to give you all time to ask follow-up questions or to vocalize any of your thoughts.
This is Lisa, and I'm just wondering, is $500 the minimum donation that you're asking?
$500 is the minimum donation that I would be asking. However, now that I'm thinking about it, even $250, half of that would really help propel us in a higher trajectory of where we would like to go to stay in line with the implementation process.
I mean, are you taking donations that are not of that amount? If individuals want to write a check for $50 or $100, will you take that?
We're going to take whatever money is graciously donated our way. However, we also recognize that, again, there are key stakeholders that we could be intentionally tapping into who may be in a physically better position of donating a larger amount. And we want to make sure that we're aware of them and can encourage them to donate that kind of funding towards a city initiative of community building.
I have a question.
Yes.
Since the city and the county are getting $70 million apiece, don't you think it'd be appropriate to ask those people to come up with maybe $20,000 for you, $10,000 from the city and $10,000 from the county. I mean, they're going to get all this money, tons of it. So why couldn't we ask them to put 10 grand a piece in?
So I'm
They're
not
just gonna-
going, oh, I'm
They're
sorry,
just going to
Charles.
give it. They're just going to give it away anyway.
So I actually am not going to lie. I believe we've had this conversation as in Liz Allen, along with Lisa, Janelle, and Sarah Bennett, myself, about reaching out to the county, but we were told something about their fiscal year was coming to an end, and they wouldn't be able to give these funds. Lisa, could you help provide more language to this conversation? Because I remember having it.
Actually, I think that the suggestion to go to the city and the county council makes perfect sense. And I think that if there are people here on the board, on this commission who have personal relationships, to get some support from them to support the ask. In other words, who's making the decisions on distributing those funds that were just mentioned, and how can some be put towards this really exciting project? Maybe the commission wants to pass a resolution that says we support this. I don't know what the step is, and maybe I'm looking to the people that have been on the commission for a longer time, who might know about funding options or who to talk to or what this commission can actually do, because the commission doesn't have a bunch of money sitting around that we can spend, right? So I don't know, Mike, you've been on, Jim, all the rest of you that have been around for so long on the committee or commission. Is there any suggestions that you have about how to help Autumn Parker, gain the funds that are necessary? And again, the funds are not going to Autumn; they're going to a 501c3.
Right, which Janelle is our fiscal sponsor of overseeing.
The thing is, our committee cannot endorse it, but we can request a look at it. We can't do anything official with it because we're not in that capacity to endorse a project outside of the monies that are designated for the planning of Erie County, Erie County's money to preserve farms and everything else. So our money is kind of tied up. But I think that we can suggest to city council and to county council maybe a suggestion letter, not a resolution, because I don't think we can get a resolution for that, to be honest with you, according to our bylaws. But
here's the thing, Charles, we don't even need to do that. I know that Andre is involved with this project and Liz is involved with this project. Liz is a city council member, Andre is a county council member.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they should be able to very clearly give you the pathway for presenting to both of those bodies, which is actually very simple. You don't even actually need them to do that. You can contact the council clerks for each of those organizations and request to be put on one of their meetings. We do it all the time with when we're getting ready to present resolutions or ordinances. Particularly, I don't know the city's process because I don't necessarily have to deal directly with the city council's process, but for county council, their finance and personnel meetings, their calendar is online under the county council. And I do know that their next finance and personnel meeting is Thursday, April 1st, because we're going to be presenting on the diversity and inclusion efforts for the county. And Holly, who's on here, with her and I, and a whole host of other people were on the last finance and personnel meeting presenting on CPACE. So that would be my suggestion, right? In order to broaden your audience, because that was one of my questions, is who else have you all presented this to? That would be a question, but specifically getting on the agendas of the finance and personnel meetings for county council and city council.
Well,
and then letting them take it from there, because then they will kind of take it from, I mean, obviously take it from there. Or maybe
honey,
not so obviously.
I read the whole program that you sent me, and I heartily agree. It is a great program, and it could do a lot of good to Erie County. And I'm going to talk to a couple people that I know and see if I can get something going too. Sometimes, you know,
Well, Mr. Kate,
sometimes you just got to kick the pig in the rear end.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah.
And I appreciate you all bearing with me, as I too, I'm a local person. I'm not too involved in political governing affairs. I'm a career counselor at Allegheny College, but I care about my city. I care about our county. So really, your suggestions are incredibly helpful. There's no wrong answer here. Honey, we really only have presented to you all. So
Okay.
you're kind of like our tester, and
Sure.
and I appreciate it. So I would love the opportunity to be able to get in front of the city council and county council. So if there's any way that you could support me in getting on the agenda, especially for April 1st, I would greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, Autumn, what I'll do is I will send you the council clerk's contact information. And I'm gonna double star this, because honestly, my follow-up with planning commission sometimes gets kicked down the curb with everything else we've got going on in the department. But yeah, I'll send you the council clerk's contact information, and then you can request time to present at their meeting. And then Nicole Innan, who is the one that coordinates that, will do all the things that she needs to do to work to get you to do that. So yeah, that's one thing. In regards to the dollars that are coming to us, there have been no decisions. We're just now getting that communication. We're getting kind of the daily briefs on the bill and what that looks like. And we're currently we're taking a deep dive into that. And if you want me to wait to get a little bit more specific in my report, I can do that. I don't have a lot of specifics to share with you, but I can add that into my part of my report.
No,
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, agreed.
Okay,
So
Any
thank you,
other follow-up
Autumn.
questions? Are we good?
I think we are.
Perfect.
thank
Thank you
you.
so much for your time, your
Thank-
patience.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye, thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak? Being none that I hear, we will go to our usual communications with Honey's report.
Wonderful. Well, so we have a couple of, or actually more than a couple, we have a few presentations, or two presentations with a few guests this evening. We're going to start with CPACE. So for a refresher, it's the Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy Program. And just on March 2nd, the resolution finally was passed by County Council. It took us months of working with council to just get it just right, to get it passed. And it's still not quite right, but it's good enough for now, because it means that this program is active in Erie County. And so we wanted to share with you all what that looks like, what that could look like for people in your jurisdiction. So we've invited Holly Ettinger, and she is, let me get my notes here. She's the Director of Special Projects for the Sustainable Energy Fund. And Holly specifically and Sustainable Energy Fund have been so incredibly helpful over the year that we've been working on this, to help us with all the behind the scenes details, so that since the resolution is passed now, we can just off and run with it, rather than now having to kind of work out all the details. So Holly, the screen share is enabled. So if you would like to present, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. And I'll have to say, every county is a process, so you're definitely not not the outliers by any means. And as a matter of fact, this past year, you know, kind of my experience dealing with all the various county governments in Pennsylvania on this program gave me such personal peace of mind and heart when it came to the elections. And I knew the level of professionalism at the counties. And so I knew those election offices were going to be doing their best to make sure things were straight. And so, you know, what more can you ask for? So I'm all for local government thoroughness. It's like my favorite thing these days. So CPACE actually stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy. And it's really a program to help clean energy, which is renewable, but also mostly energy savings. So energy efficient equipment, as well as equipment that generates clean energy. It's a loan program, and it's a loan program specifically for commercial property owners. And it allows the commercial property owners to get really long-term loans, like 20 to 30 years, based on the useful life of the equipment. And the loan, the reason they can get that long term is because it's paid on their property tax bill annually. And that's why we needed county partnership on it, because the county needed to agree to collect that bill from any property owner that participates and make sure that payment gets back to the initial lender. The lender is private money. This is private investment into private property. It's just that loan payment is facilitated by the county. So it is just for commercial properties. So you're talking about office buildings, manufacturing, retail, agriculture. In my neck of the woods out here in Allentown, we got a lot of warehouses, those kind of things. Really see it as a great tool for some of these buildings that were maybe built in the 90s. And the last 30 years, HVAC equipment has gotten so much better. So it's a great way to upgrade buildings, lighting, HVAC, boilers, to new technology that's much, much more energy efficient. Your county program requires a 20% energy savings. So that means any project that gets done has to at least save 20% of their energy costs. We inherited this program from other states. It's in 37 other states, but it's really active in about 22 states, very big in Ohio, Connecticut, Texas, California. And as of this year, it's about $2 billion of investment into buildings for energy savings and renewables. So, you know, nationally it's been doing great. And we are hoping that in Pennsylvania, we see that same level of investment into old properties, bringing things up to high standard. My job is really to kind of make sure counties around Pennsylvania understand it. And so I've been working the past 2 years, and I'm very excited because when Erie adopted it last week, that put me right about almost at 50%. I'm at 46% of the state population. So I can say I covered just about 50%. And next week, Delaware County outside of Philadelphia will adopt it. And so I'll definitely be halfway. So that's nice. Probably not going to go after the Potter counties where, you know, there's not many commercial buildings, but because it's really 4 buildings. Yeah.
You did. How are you doing in Mercer and Beaver County? Those are kind of developed communities. Yeah,
they are. And we've had more than one meeting with Beaver County.
Yeah.
They had some change in their makeup of their commissioners, I think last year in 19. And so, you know, we're just trying to circle back with them at this point. So
Westmoreland.
Westmoreland, they are well underway in reviewing all the legal documents. I anticipate them coming online this spring with a vote.
That would be big. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be really nice.
Holly, I know that Lynn and myself actually were on with one of the Bucks County commissioners and their assessment, person in charge of assessment, kind of promoting the program, trying to encourage them to join. I know they said they were speaking with you.
Yep, we've been talking to them. You know, and again, I'm going to go back to, look, it's a new concept. I sound like a salesperson when I talk about it. I hate that because I work for a nonprofit focused on clean energy. I'm not a salesperson. So I appreciate that, you know, counties are doing their due diligence, and your commissioners are no different. They asked all the tough questions, made sure the county was not in line for any liability. The counties don't assume liability at all for these loans. They're never, you know, responsible for the amount borrowed. So, and it's a good process. And I'm glad to hear Bucks called you.
What
That's
are the
encouraging.
what are the current interest rates to repay these loans?
So because they're 20-year fixed rate loans, they're at 5.5% right now,
Okay.
which is higher than your bank loan. But again, your bank's not going to give you a 20-year loan unless it's a mortgage. And this is secondary to the mortgage. So, you know, it's not about how low the interest rate goes. It's about that it's fixed and that it stays with that property.
Yeah.
That's the other kind of interesting thing. I think a lot of municipal governments kind of can finance something for 20 years and it's not a big deal, but commercial property owners.
With the pandemic where it is there other state money available for commercial properties that were in operation that need to rebuild after this?
No. I mean, there's small business loans for, you know, if you're a small business owner and you have a building.
Yeah.
But, and, you know, it's interesting, Jim, we're actually trying to get indoor air quality added to this too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a cap on how much a commercial property can request?
No, there's not. I'll give you, this is a great example. I really like it because it's kind of that historic theater I feel like everybody has in their town. They needed to replace the hot water heater, the boilers, and it was going to be, you know, $650,000 project. They got an incentive from their utility, which is great, but they ended up borrowing $384,000 over 20 years. Their loan payment annually is $30,000, but because that boiler is so much better, they're saving $58,000 a year. So it's cash flow positive for this theater right off the bat, which is just, that's kind of why I love the program, because you can, if you're, you know, if it works right, you're saving so much energy and costs that is offsetting that long-term loan payment. This is a one we just did in Montgomery County in December. New hotel and the rehab of an old firehouse into a commercial building. They borrowed $10 million through CPACE. And that $10 million went into making that hotel high efficiency lighting, high efficiency HVAC, high efficiency elevators, really high RE rating roof, high level of insulation. So it improved the building. They weren't going to build a building this solid, right? This airtight, but because of the loan, they built a better building, and that just kind of helps the grid in a lot of ways too.
Great.
So, yeah.
It's something's got to happen. I mean, with the way this country suffered, we really have to have something available for this rebuilding process.
Are these funds available for somebody that wanted to tear down an old building and build a new, making it more energy efficient, or is it just for existing structures?
Nope, you can use it for new construction.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, in new construction, you have to build a building that goes 10% above the current energy standard in the building code.
Yeah, that's not a lot to ask for.
It's not, but the energy code building standard is relatively updated. I think they're using 2015. It's pretty good. Yeah, so that's kind of how it works. You know, the county's going to collect it, and hopefully we'll get you know, some rehab projects that can be helped with this. You know, you're putting together all those different sources of income to do a rehab. This can be a really nice piece.
I hope so.
Okay, Holly, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Is there any questions?
Nope.
No questions?
I'll just say we're so thrilled that this is available in Erie County now. Holly, I will tell you, in I'm looking at the article, it was on Saturday, February 27th. There is a historic bed and breakfast in Northeast Borough, and there is a new owner, and the new owner talked about making several energy efficiency upgrades to the building. And I immediately thought of CPACE and thought, I need to contact this gentleman and say, listen, you have an opportunity here to save yourself some money, and do a really great thing. So I just wanted to give you a heads up about that.
Great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
This is Lisa, and Holly, I had one question. First of all, thank you, and thank you again. This is a very exciting program, and it puts everyone in the creating the opportunity to save money in the long term and save the environment, which we all want to do. So thank you for that. I was wondering if you could comment at all on the notion of embedded energy and the issue of new construction versus adaptive reuse I mean, I understand adaptive reuse whenever possible as a higher level sustainability practice. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. Actually, we have a whole webinar on embodied carbon next week that we're doing, which, yeah, I mean, look, if the materials are already made and the bricks are already standing, that is definitely going to be the most carbon neutral, least impact. Making new bricks is new manufacturing process, and that definitely contributes to the whole greenhouse gas thing. And often building reuse means that the road is already there, the water pipes are already there, so you kind of have a lot of infrastructure in place too, which does kind of save embodied carbon in a project. My job before this, well, when I first got into economic and community development, was brownfields remediation. And so this is like all kind of the same animal to me, and is really about, our existing communities and the investment that needs to be made in an intentional way. We're excited. The Biden administration is very, very interested in CPACE and may come out with a statement about it nationally and as part of the climate action plan. So that'd be kind of cool for us, just a little like pat on the back, but at the end of the day, we're still saving businesses money and we're still improving building stock. So,
well, is there a number that I can reach out to you later on?
Yeah, sure. You know what? I'm working remotely, as you can probably see. So I'm just going to give you my cell number, and
Okay.
that is 484-788-1733. Honey has all my contact information.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll make a note here to include Holly's contact information in the meeting minutes.
Yeah, that would be great.
And you have a website, eriecpace.org. That's up and running, and people can do their application and start looking at the program right there. So.
Thank you. Holly.
Okay, is there anybody else who would like to ask a question or speak up? If not, then hey, Holly, thank you very much. You were very, very good at your presentation.
Thank you. Thanks for the time.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Holly.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on a little bit here to overview of county GIS services. Is Mike Baker here?
He is.
I'm here.
Would he like to speak?
Sure, I would love to speak. I also have some visuals as well.
Okay, well,
And anyone that knows me can tell you that I will speak all night long if I had to, but I am going to spare you guys on this and give you a quick overview of who we are, what we do, and why we do it. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen here. All right. I'm just going to assume you can all see it. So hello, my name is Mike Baker. I'm the GIS coordinator for the Erie County Department of Planning and Community Development. I'm accompanied here by Andrew Parkin. He is the GIS analyst for the Erie County Department of Planning and Community Development. The two of us perform GIS duties, maintenance and analysis for Erie County Department of Planning and Community Development. We have a combined about 23 years of experience in the GIS field. We both have a passion for this field, and we're always pretty excited to see what kind of mapping and data we'll be getting into every day. So, Andrew, did you want to jump in on that part? Introduce yourself.
You killed it.
Andrew and I have this thing where I do the talking and he does the heavy lifting. So, if you don't hear much from Andrew, it's not a bad thing.
Okay.
All right. So I guess the first thing I'm going to go over here is what is GIS? For those of you that don't know and are unaware of it, GIS is an acronym that stands for Geographic Information System. It's not just software. It is software, it is hardware, it is data, it is people. We are GIS folk. We utilize all of these aspects to come up with methods of analysis and produce results to show how different aspects and layers of our world interact with each other. And primarily what we're doing is spatial visualization. The short term, simply, we make maps, but not so simply, we perform complex analysis that results in visualization of spatial data in paper or online form. So at a base level, back up one second here. The people and methods in GIS are combine these geospatial software and tools to enable spatial analysis, manage large data sets, and display information in a map or graphical form. At a base level, spatial data is comprised of points or lines or polygons, but sometimes hexagons. What makes it special is each one of these features have an accompanying data, which in turn is used to visualize that data. This visualization is a product of almost all of our mapping products are comprised of. So why is this important? GIS is important because by presenting the data in visual manner, we're able to help show things based on data rather than perception. Relationships between the data and the visualization allows us to make better decisions when we have the data to support them. Far too often, decisions are based on perception, mostly of what one person or a few people have anecdotally experienced and then subsequently convinced others of. With decisions based in data, there are far less questions on the path taken to make these decisions. And sometimes the perception is spot on if the data supports it. Sometimes the opposite is true. Visualization and mapping eliminates the need to paint a picture from memory. I always like to say one thing that I've found over the years that I've been doing this, the answers are always in the map. And every time someone tries to prove me wrong on that, I pull out a map and there's the answer. So that's a little overview of what GIS is and why it's important. As far as what we're doing and where we're at, we support primarily the planning department programs. Right now, we work with CDBG with project mapping, ag preservation, we do farm inventory mapping. The municipal assistance, we support the comp plans and zoning mapping. Greenways, we have a municipal park survey and mapping project that's ongoing right now. That's about halfway done, Andrew?
Yeah, about 48%.
Yeah. In which, do you want to describe that real quick?
Yeah, it's just basically taking an inventory of what every municipal public park has to offer. So I basically go out, or we go out, and we just collect every park bench, parking area, pavilion, whatever is physically at the park. And at the end, we'll be able to select a park and see what amenities are in each park.
Primarily, we're doing this to support the Erie County Parks and Rec Plan in a way that we can provide information that will help municipalities get grants from state and federal agencies. In addition to that, we also work with the MSAP program, the MS4. We do system mapping and field work surveys for several municipalities. Right now, there are 5 municipalities that we are currently actively working with, including the city of Erie and Union City. We just talked to them this morning. There are 3 other municipalities that we have things set up with, but we haven't moved on forward with them yet, as of yet. Another part of the Department of Planning and Community Development is the data center. And through agreements with the data center, we have several projects for the city of Erie who does not have a GIS department. These projects include property surveys, code enforcement mapping, streetlight mapping is a new project we just stumbled upon. We're going to be participating in a street tree survey that's going to take a couple years to develop, but when we're done, we're going to have an inventory of all the street trees in the city of Erie and a public-facing website that allows people to self-report, and it'll allow the Parks Department in the city of Erie maintain these trees. The nice thing about this process that we're using, and all of these processes, is that they're scalable. Scalable down from the city of Erie to any other municipality within the county, whether it be a township or a borough or city. There's one other city. Let's see what else. Oh, there's the Erie County Land Bank. We did property surveys for 3 municipalities. One of those municipalities, I do have a small story about that. There was a perception in this municipality that the rentals were bringing down the look and feel of the city, or the municipality. It wasn't a city. Anyway, there was a lot of talk about it. There was a lot of Facebook experts, if you will. And so we did a property survey where we stopped at every property, took a picture, did a rating based on that person's perception. And we looked at the results and come to find out that it actually wasn't the rental properties that were the problem or issue in that municipality. And based on that, the powers that be were able to enable some help to the people that needed it. So yeah, and we've done that for 3 different municipalities. The last thing, the other things on here is that we also work with several state and federal agencies. Usually it's through the department programs or Erie County departments, but for the most part, we do have a relationship with them to provide data. One of the agencies, I'm not really sure if it's an agency, but there's a Pennsylvania Spatial Data repository, and we provide parcels for free to them once a month. The parcel information that's included there has no information except for the parcel ID number. But it's been a great boon to developers who want to get a look and feel for what is available on the land. We're also working with some other Erie County departments. We're about to embark on a very large data project with the library here. We're going to be doing an analysis of their patrons, where they're at and what their activities are. And I know Andrew's ready to get his teeth into that data, because we're talking a couple 100,000 points of data here.
Yeah, it'll be a fun time.
Yes, it will. So the other thing that we do, lastly, actually, is we have a municipal GIS outreach program. Every 3 years, the county has a flight that goes and takes aerial imagery of the entire county. This past flight was in 2020 in April, that captured 9-inch imagery over the entire county and 3-inch imagery over the boroughs and the cities. Now, that 3-inch imagery has come in handy for many, many projects across the board. We're able to get an accurate sidewalk distance and look. We're able to we were actually able to pull out storm drains, manholes, anything that's not covered by a car.
With 3-inch imagery, you can count individual seagulls.
Yes, we're the first thing we noticed was we could see seagulls over the bay. They call them bagels? I don't know. Anyway.
Or like my kids like to say, they could see the shopping carts in the stalls at Upper Beach.
Pretty good imagery. Our next flight is planned for spring of 2023. And from that, we will be deriving another building footprint data set, which is very, very, very helpful with looking at permits and for assessment. So, okay, so that's what I have. And this is what we do. Any questions?
Thanks, Mike. You know, I got to tell you, we use.
I know you will.
We use your stuff every day. We cannot operate without it anymore. We become so relied on it. It's just a part of everything. Every person that walks in our building goes to the counter, and when they come in, they tell us about their property. We turn the GIS on, we look at their property. Every single person that comes into Fairview. It's huge, huge program. Yes. And I can't encourage all the municipalities to use it. There's no way you can use it too much.
Yep. I've always enjoyed watching people look at mapping products that we have for the first time. There's always the same thing that happens. The first time you look at property maps, the first thing people do is they go to their property and see, hey, where do I live? What does it look like around my area? Next thing they do is go to their work or where they shop or where they play. And then once you get past that, they start thinking about what else would I like to see on this map and how does it interact? Yeah. Looking at flood zones was a great
it was
for a lot
huge.
of people. Yeah.
It was huge.
Hmm? And I stand by that the answers are always in the map.
Yeah, they are pretty much. Oh, you can't believe the number of people that say, well, I built that deck 5 years ago. Here, no, you didn't. Look, it just showed up this year.
Yep. Oh yeah, we're really heading into a brand new aspect of the online interactive mapping as well. Andrew has put together some amazing maps that not just a regular map where you roll it out on paper and look at it, but you can zoom in. The attributes change as you're moving around on it. There's really not much we can't do.
Wow.
I will bump in here and say that this is all done with 2 people, which I know Jim is intimately familiar with that fact. And Andrew has done a lot of training to maximize efficiency. And I know that's an oxymoron in government, but I deeply believe in how can we be most efficient with what we're doing. And I'm always kind of pushing these to identify workflows and just different things to do that. But in order to really maximize the capture and use of GIS in order to be most helpful to our municipalities, there will be a need to increase capacity within GIS, or it's going to take us a very long time to capture all this data and put it in the format that's most useful to you all. But it's really, I'm amazed on a daily basis what our team is able to do.
Quite honestly, the more that we do, the more we realize what we can do, and the more we realize that we really need bodies to help us.
Yeah.
And
I can't encourage municipalities and some of the more rural municipalities to utilize this program to the maximum. Really. I mean, everything from all the info you're going to need for comprehensive planning to to everyday work in your office. Spend the money on a great system and utilize it to the max.
We've had a lot of success with the Pictometry Connect and zoning officers and code enforcement because they can look at current data as it interacts with their zoning ordinance.
Right.
We're actually taking that to another level here with John McGrainer within their office here in a project that will be revealed in the future.
Revealed in the future. Yeah, we've got some behind the scenes work to do before we make that known to everyone. And of course, we'll give the Planning Commission a preview of that.
Absolutely. And it's a lot of work, but we've been able to turn to some crowdsourcing. And when I say crowdsourcing, I mean non-GIS people that are able to use GIS collecting tools that work within municipalities. This map that's behind me right here, there you can't see it very well, and I don't have it on here. I wish I would have put it on there. There are about 10 different layers of information that are on there. It's a beautiful, beautiful map, but it is the culmination of about 10,000 hours of manpower combined. There's rental data, there's property survey data, there's crime data, there's parcel data, and
code violations.
And all of that intermixed together, they were able to make decisions on this neighborhood to decide where they should put their efforts. One thing we found out through the property survey was once we we overlaid the property data with the survey data, the property survey data with the code violations data, was why were there a lot of code violations in the neighborhoods that we came across as fairly decent housing, and not in the neighborhoods that didn't have very decent housing. What was realized by the people that were analyzing it was, well, the people that take care of their houses, they care about what their neighbor's house looks like. And the people that don't take care of their houses don't really care about what's the neighbor's house. So that in turn they were able to make that decision to go into these neighborhoods and say, hey, what can we do to help spruce your neighborhood up? You know, what kind of monies can we find to, you know, fix your roof, fix your gutters, do these types of things. So it's always good to see that kind of result come out of a lot of work in a map.
This is Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
Mike, Lisa Austin. I'm a big fan of what you're doing, Mike. Andrew, thank you for your work as well. I have a couple of questions. First of all, I'm just thrilled to have this presentation and just sort of see where you've been in the years that I've been able to actually come into your office. I have a couple of questions. One is that because of the detailed nature of the imagery that you're able to collect, what protocols have been put in place for like, you know, identity protection or that, or is that even a discussion? I know that like facial recognition and all that kind of stuff.
At this point, even the 3-inch imagery, even if we saw a human being, there is no possible way to tell who they are or what type of person they are. We can see seagulls, but they really are. You mentioned earlier we could see seagulls, but they're only real.
You only see the silhouettes of the seagulls. You can't see like identifying features or anything like that.
Oh, okay. But even things like, and again, I have nothing, I live in the city and I'm right on a corner. Everybody can see everything I'm doing. But for people that, I don't know, like, I mean, do you like information about how many cars they have in their backyard or, you know, I don't know, like, in other words, is anything private, or is it all available to the government? And does the government share the information with the corporate world?
No.
Well, to be honest with you, Lisa, anything that's out in the open is going to be seen by these. They are apolitical. They don't care. It's all. There's no agendas that are attached with it. The other thing that's very, very important to remember is the aerial imagery that we get. I mentioned there was a flight in 2020 and there will be a flight in 2023. It is literally a snapshot in time of that particular minute and that particular day of that particular year. So everything can change the next day and it won't be reflected in that flight, in that imagery. But to address what you're asking, which is a very good question, actually. There are assessment likes to use the imagery to verify. They verify building permits. They verify their valuations. They verify one big thing. There was a county that spent a couple $100,000 on a flight, and they found that the telecom industry had been installing repeaters, cell phone repeaters on buildings, which are a taxable entity. And they were able to reclaim about $5 million in taxes just from the telecom industry. So it was worth it in that respect. But it's a wide net that's cast. So another aspect of that, or another anecdote about that, is there was another county where their assessment only could do drive-ins or drive-bys of the housing. And out in the rural area near a recreation area, there was a property that had a trailer on it. So they valued the property and the housing and the house based on the structure based on that trailer. What they didn't know until they got a flight was that the property was owned by a contractor out of Pittsburgh who built a 8-bedroom mansion, if you will, behind the hill, behind the mobile home. And he hid it because he was a very good contractor and it was far enough away that nobody saw any building going on at all. Not the municipality, not the neighbors, nobody, until they had that flight. And well, they went after him.
So it's a game of Monopoly that the county can win now. All right. And then the other question I had was, is there any, what is the word? Any way that citizen groups can request things? Like, I think it'd be really interesting to, and I think it's important to see where are pedestrian deaths from cars. I remember there was just somebody was killed, I don't know, within the last year on 26th Street. I like that kind of data. And also back with the projects that I've been involved with in the past couple of decades here, it would have been really helpful to have information other than what we personally were collecting on things like pedestrian use of, say, the McBride Viaduct, or in other words, there was no, is there some way for citizens to ask for data to be collected? Is my question. Okay.
Yeah, for pedestrian data, that's a PennDOT thing, to be honest with you. They will, as far as I know, they will, if asked, they will share that data that they've collected. They collect that data. As far as the imagery is concerned, or whatnot, there is there's Street View that we don't do, but Google does. All of the imagery that we collect or that we purchase, we are actually licensing it from the company that does the flights, and they actually sell that imagery 3 years after the flight is flown to Microsoft, and it shows up in Bing Maps. So
I'm sorry I wasn't clear, but like PennDOT, I think, I thought they just collected the data for roads that they maintain, like 26th and 6th and so on. What I'm saying is there any city or county, could we request a city or a county kind of map showing where are pedestrians hit and killed, what intersections, what roadway crossings? Is that something you're saying PennDOT would keep that for every city, every rural street?
You're absolutely right. They would keep that. They would have that data for the roads that they maintain. As far as collecting that data outside of that, what PennDOT collects,
I'm not entirely sure how we go about doing that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how we go about doing that. If you're talking about usually the roads that are in the rural areas, like an intersection of two dirt roads in the middle of the Buff Township. No, there's really not a lot of activity going on there, so there's not a lot of focus.
Well, do you think it would be police or hospital? I'm just trying to figure out where to even find the data so that we would have a comprehensive listing of, say, in the last 10 years, where have people been run down, hit, or killed?
probably could find that with the
Hey.
public safety data,
Yeah.
but it would take
I'm
a
sorry, where was that? Where did you say?
public safety. If
It,
they retain that data.
it really comes down to how they would mark that, because when the call comes in, they wouldn't know if it was a death or not.
Right.
It'd just be an accident. So I'm not entirely sure how that would work. And plus, if you get it from the hospital, I don't know what HIPAA laws are about
Right.
releasing information like that.
The collection of that type of data outside of what PennDOT collects would be a pretty big effort as far as research into police data, emergency services data, hospital data, and for what it's worth, news sources as well, which is not something that we are equipped to do that in its entirety.
Thank you for explaining that.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Being no other questions, that was great. Great presentation. You guys are doing a lot of good work, and we really appreciate it, because I can see Jim does, especially in interview.
Jim's one of our favorites.
But anyway, thank you guys for
Thanks.
having a presentation with us.
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Anytime. Anytime.
Okay, well, anybody else want to comment or make any notes to these fellas, or should we move on? I guess we should move on to commissioner reports.
Oh, can I do the department's report prior to that, please?
Sure, go ahead.
Hey.
Thanks, Charles. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Mike. Really appreciate you joining us this evening. And Charles and Paul, we can make copies of the slides that were presented during Holly's presentation and during Mike and Andrew's presentation, and send those to you.
Yeah,
so we'll
I'd
get those
appreciate it.
in the mail. Yeah, for sure. So in regards to transportation, recently, there's been a lot of talk about tolling interstate bridges coming from PennDOT, because they're trying to find alternative funding sources for a very large program. I'm pleased to say that there are no toll bridges proposed for Erie County. So you can just forget about that unless you are traveling in other parts of the state. But as for now, there's no toll bridges proposed in Erie County. We conducted a subcommittee meeting of the MPO on February 3rd, and we recommended a few bridges for funding with our local use funds that we have available to us. For those of you that live in the city, you're probably aware that the Kakwa Avenue Bridge is in great disrepair, and funds were just approved to build an alternate route down the hill there. And then study funds were also approved so that they can figure out how they're best going to be able to repair that bridge. But in the meantime, there needs to be a route for people who live below that bridge and for the yacht club down there. And so there'll be a road put in. The city of Erie's coordinating all that. And there are a couple of other bridges that were approved for repair in Waterford Township and Elk Creek Township. We also have Act 13 funds, which are Marcellus Shale funds that come to us, and part of those funds go to the transportation program and part of those funds go to our greenways program. And we use the Act 13 funds for the bridges, and we are going to be repairing an bridge in Wayne Township coming up. So there'll be lots of things happening throughout the county beyond just the standard things that you're hearing in regards to transportation. Mike and Andrew mentioned the data center in their presentation, and I'm sad yet happy in a way to report that Jeff Keeler, our data center coordinator, is leaving us. Actually, tomorrow is his last day. He actually has an amazing opportunity at the federal level to work with the Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services on their data team. And so I'm just absolutely thrilled for him. Sad for us a little bit in Erie County, but we do have that position posted currently. It went live on Monday. So if you know, I think I put it out on LinkedIn. If you're a data nerd with a love for public service, consider joining our team as the data center coordinator. So that's some news there. In regards to the land bank, I think Jim mentioned last time he had talked about the Girard Hotel. It's currently, well, salvage should be done. Salvage was supposed to wrap up from Habitat for Humanity at the end of February, and they're currently compiling a list of salvage items, and they've taken, I don't even know how many, many loads of salvage from the property already, and many things they've actually already sold at the Habitat store. So if you are a fan of Erie history and good salvage construction materials, you might want to hit up the Habitat for Humanity soon. I know also that the land bank has been partnering with public safety agencies to allow them to train on land bank properties that are slated for demolition. The land bank was actually approached by the Mill Creek SWAT team in regards to the Girard Hotel, and they wanted to do some training. And I don't know if that actually happened, but I know that the land bank said this is a kind of a great partnership before these properties are demoed to be able to be used for training. So that's kind of an interesting piece to share. And then recently at the recent judicial sale, there were 12 properties that were bought by the land bank. So they've doubled their inventory. They've bought properties in Corey City, Mill Creek Township, Northeast Borough, Springfield Township, and Union City Borough. So there's a lot. This is a really active time of year for the land bank, and Jim is intimately involved with that. So when he gets to hear the report, he may have even more to add than that. And then I will end with, I will not be at the April meeting. I will likely have John McGrainer cover that meeting. We have been very diligent as a family ever since the pandemic to basically shelter in place, other than going to the office and going to the grocery store. We really, and being outdoors, walking in parks, we really have not gone anywhere, and my son has spring break that week, and so we are taking a road trip. We're still going to be out in nature. I think I've shared with you all, our goal is to visit all of the national parks and actually all of the state parks in Pennsylvania. And so we're going to take a little trip and hit the great outdoors for about a week in April. So John McGrainer will likely be facilitating the April meeting, and actually the land bank will be doing a presentation at the April meeting. So that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else that you'd like to ask, honey? No? Okay, we'll go to commissioner reports, and I'm sure Jim would have something to say. I know Matt ain't here because he usually gives us some input. Is there, Jim, you want to start it off?
I can tell you a little bit about Fairview, what's going on. First, start off, we are continually progressing with our downtown plan for our downtown. We're talking about some street widening, we're purchasing some properties down there to create parking. We have CT Consulting, who is our planning consultant that's working on a new comprehensive plan for Fairview, and they are also working on this downtown plan to seek funding for us to do a beautification project within our downtown, change some regulations, adopt a downtown neighborhood district with some new regulations to try and get our parking in the back of the commercial properties and our utilities relocated, a lot of new things. Hopefully that'll spice things up downtown. It's about the first phase of it's about a $6 million project. So we're going to start with some applying for some grant money, and Fairview Township's going to actively start pursuing financial aid to achieve this. We just bought a property in downtown Fairview. We're going to turn it over to the Erie County Land Bank for demolition, and then hopefully get it turned back to Fairview that we can have a public parking facility within our downtown. So that's what's going on in Fairview. As far as the land bank goes, one of that is they are actively now pursuing 2 properties in Fairview. One that the land bank actually purchased for $2,000. It's a single-story house on Rupert Drive. We should be finalizing the deeds on that within the next week, and then there'll be probably a demolition, and then the land bank will have a really nice residential lot to sell. So this will be I'm kind of excited because it's happened to be my town, but it'll be a moneymaker for them, and I think that's a great thing. So that's what I have to report.
Okay, thanks, Jim. We appreciate that. How about Jeannie Miller? Is there anything from Gerard, Jeannie? Is Jeannie there?
Yes, there is. Okay, regarding the hotel, the SWAT team was there today from 11 to 1 and did that. And as far as the things taken out of the hotel, the only thing they didn't do at this time were the windows, which are
Right.
not. And so the idea was to leave them there until they start to tear it down, and then they'll come back to take the windows at that time. So that's where we're at on the hotel. And then we have, we're working on a master plan with the group from Buffalo. Urban is the name. So we've been having meetings, our group has, every other week to work on a master plan so that we can also go for some additional grants. And then we have a meeting tomorrow night for 2 of the streets in Girard for the homeowners, so that we can apply for a grant to help them out.
CDBG,
What's that?
is that going to be CDBG money?
No, it's going to be the gaming through the Renaissance.
Oh, okay.
And that's only with the 5,000 for each one. But anyways, it's to help out, the homeowners with any project they might have.
Okay.
So that's what that is. The other we're going to try for, it's the last time we tried, we were denied. So we're going to try again, but that's where we're at. It's just working on that. And then we have a survey that's out online. It's on the Girard Borough website that we're asking anybody to fill it out and send it in, just to get everybody's input on the town of Girard, how it can be improved and all that. And then June 24th on Main Street, the chamber's having like a food truck celebration of summer beginning. And they're going to have, music and then hay rides. But anyways, that's what's going on. That's it.
Jeannie?
Okay, thank
Oh, Charles, I just wanted to mention that I'm making a note here to include a link to that survey
Oh, okay.
to send out to you all. So we'll get that out to you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. How about Paul? You got anything, Paul, or
Nothing new.
nothing new?
No, haven't heard any more on the farm for the solar panels either. They haven't been back, so we don't know what's going on there yet.
Well, you're gonna be plowing the fields pretty soon, huh?
Yep.
Okay, Paul, thank you. How about Cindy out of Union City? Anything, Cindy?
Oh, yeah, we've got a whole lot going on. One of our projects is a brand new parking lot on Main Street in Union City. And it was from vacant lots that Union City Pride had purchased several years ago. And we finally realized that there was a real need for parking on the south end of town. So we are going to be starting that project here within probably the next month or two. That should be done by the end of May into June. We have some DCNR grants for ADA accessibility at Cathlesh Park. Phase 1 was supposed to have been done last year, but was delayed because of COVID. So we are doing phase 1 and phase 2 of ADA accessibility, and it will include a path around the park, around Cathlesh Park, to our pavilions and back to the parking area, and then also to the restrooms. And phase 2 includes new restroom facilities that are ADA accessible. In the parking lot that we're having, there is a mural that's going to be put up on the one wall. It's a wall that's very visible when you're coming into Union City from the south. And that should also be done the first part of June. We have a French Creek feasibility study that is going to be completed probably by next year. We were recipients of the WalkWorks Active Transportation Grant, and that active transportation plan will be completed by the end of September. And we are in the process of completing final stages, like in the next month or two, the Comprehensive Parks Master Plan. And that was done with some DCED money. We're also using the Renaissance grant from ECRA. We just finalized the spending on that portion of the grant from the 2021 money. We have Mission Main Street money that we're going to finish spending this year on structural improvements for our downtown buildings. We have a PennDOT project that's going to replace all of our traffic signals in Union City, and that's a $1.2 million project. And last but not least, we're celebrating our 150th birthday this year for Union City Borough, and there's a lot of organizations and churches and businesses that are trying to work together to put some different activities together to continue to celebrate that throughout the year.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Yep, for now.
Okay, how about Don Crenshaw? You got anything, City of Erie, you want to speak about?
No, nothing in particular that I want to share at this point in time.
Okay, how about Lacey?
Not at this point, thank you.
Okay. Well, Lisa, I'm sure you're going to be talking about the Bayfront corridor, right?
Lisa Austin, I actually have the report that I wasn't able to give you last meeting.
Okay, then how about, well, we're going to move on because we got you on the agenda. All right, with you?
I'm confused.
Charles, no, this is her report for District 2. She has a actual, like a report.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to share the screen if I could then.
Yep, you have screen sharing capabilities. They're enabled.
Thanks, everybody. So I conferred with Councilman Andre Horton, and this is the report that he has asked me to, he's given me a lot of things to share. First of all, this is an old map just showing us where District 2 is. It's the purple area along the waterfront there, and it extends, of course, along the entire Bayfront through the city and then further west into Lawrence Park. And he wanted me to talk about these opportunity zones. I'm sure you're familiar with the fact that they're economically distressed communities where new investments under certain conditions may be eligible for preferential tax treatment to encourage development. And Erie County has a total of 8 opportunity zones. And what's interesting is that 6 of them are in the councilman's district. 6 of the 8 are in District 2, as shown here on the map. And he also asked me to share about the Erie Downtown Development Corporation that is doing some of the work in one of those economic areas, and a lot of work going on downtown. He also asked me to point out about the Erie Coke closing after 186 years, and the planning is underway now for remediation and cleanup and possible development along this waterfront. Also, as you may be aware from the newspaper and TV reports, that there is development going on in the old Wayne School with Daria Devlin at the lead, helping with United Way and UMPC as anchor tenants of this new development. Also, you're aware of the Erie Insurance expansion near the downtown, as well as the UMPC Hammett Hospital expansion. And there also been many, as you know, renovations going on at the Warner. They're very exciting. There is some troubling information, though, that's come out about the Warner marquee, that the actual marquee and canopy have been removed, and a replica is being built that is going to include digital signs. And so that's a real concern, because this building is actually on the National Register. And from what we have learned, the process moving forward to remove this sign did not follow the Secretary of the Interior standards, which is mandated in all of these National Register properties. Other good news, the UMPC park renovations are taking place. In fact, they were covered here in the Ballpark Digest. There's a cybersecurity zone project at Mercyhurst University, combining with VelocityNet and the Innovation District. And the councilman's really excited about these things. He also mentioned the SB3, the Erie's premier commercial, not only office space, but other developments, and several things that are coming up through that. The plastic recycling plant has gotten coverage in the Go Erie, that's coming to the east side. Also, the medical marijuana grow plant, also coming to District 2. Of course, right on the Bayfront, we've got the new Hampton Inn Hotel. And he also wanted to talk about the continuation of blight mitigation on the Bayfront and the Bayfront Eastside Task Force. Again, that's the acronym. BEST is the acronym for that neighborhood area that is very much guided by Erie Insurance. And then he talked about the very generous Tom Hagen's work in preservation projects on Erie's Millionaires Row on West 6th Street. And then actually in my neighborhood in our West Bayfront, they have gotten, I believe, an $80,000 grant to really sort of brighten up that part of town. And there's a distribution of light bulbs. They're called dusk to dawn light bulbs, and you leave them on all the time and they automatically turn off in the daytime. So they're low energy, and they create, as you walk down the street, rather than spending a lot of money putting in light bulbs, just having people put on the front porch lights make a big difference. In addition, the R West Bayfront is moving from its offices within the Gannon campus to a new headquarter on West 8th Street to make them more visible to the community. And getting back to the Bayfront Highway expansion, a federal lawsuit has been filed. And this federal lawsuit was filed by Earth Justice, which is a national nonprofit organization. I believe they have 150 environmental lawyers. And on behalf of both Penn Futures and the Erie NAACP, they filed the lawsuit against PennDOT's circumvention of the normal process of having an environmental assessment. And so this is now winding its way. It was filed December 15th. So I think there was a 3-month window for which PennDOT and the Federal Highway Administration need to actually respond to that. So those of us that have been concerned about this expansion are very grateful to Earth Justice for taking this on, and for Penn Futures and for Erie NAACP for challenging this. And frankly, I'd love to have seen the Michael, the data that got around this would have been really helpful. Sometimes it's what questions you ask, really depend on what answers you get. And I think that if the people who live in the community had been asked about this highway expansion, I think it would have been really clear that this was not something that was wanted. And in a personal note, I wanted to make sure that you saw the article that was published in the Erie Reader, actually on the date of our last meeting. And this is Erie's highway timeline. And what it does is it goes through the evolution of the attempt to create basically a beltway around the city of Erie. And the efforts here are sort of culminated in an artistic cartoon that summarizes the decision makers that are all Caucasian sitting around the table, responding to PennDOT, and then the diverse people who are living in the city and the environmental groups that have not wanted that highway expansion. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Is there anything else that commissioners would like to speak about? If not, we will move on to the old business of adopting the bylaws. We had still tabled, so we'll move on from that, if it's all right with everybody.
Where are, just a refresher, honey, where are we with that? We're waiting for county council to do something?
Yep, yeah. So the administrative code was sent down to council. Oh gosh, I've honestly
Oh, it was a
pandemic.
while ago. I know, I remember.
Yeah, so they're reviewing it. And at some point when they review and approve and revise and whatever, we'll revisit our bylaws just to make sure they're in line with the administrative code. So of course, whenever that happens, I'll keep you all posted. We'll get a small group of us together to do that and
Okay.
have it taken care of.
We can't do anything till they move, right?
Correct, sir.
Okay, thanks. That's all I wondered.
Okay, moving on. We'll go to the Bayfront corridor lawsuit discussion. Lisa, you want to start that?
Well, she.
Actually, I'm confused by that listing on the, I did not request a particular conversation on it at this point, but I'm happy to have one if that's the case.
Well, Lisa, so you had, so gosh, I'm trying to think. This was on, what are we at? This is March. Last month was February. So I think it was sometime in January, must have been sometime between, well, we didn't have a meeting in January. So between December and the February agenda, you had sent me an email asking that this be included on the agenda. And then last.
You know what? You're correct. I did. I was sort of astounded that after the presentations that were given to this body, that during one of the meeting that I was not attending, that when previously the body had been asked to make a motion in support of, or a resolution in support of the environmental assessment being administered prior to allowing PennDOT to move through with the project, the body, I think that there was a statement made by the body that we could not make and I've forgotten who said it exactly, but that we couldn't vote on this. Basically, this was not an issue that we could cover. We couldn't make recommendations to city council about which way to vote, blah, 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 something like that. And then I was sort of astonished to see that, wait a minute, I'm not here at a meeting, and lo and behold, there's a vote in the opposite direction to support allowing PennDOT to move through with this project without the environmental assessment. So I was just really confused and would love to, that's what it was, honey, is I really was hoping to hear from my colleagues on this body, if they could state why they voted the way they voted. Again, in the spirit of understanding and working together, I was sort of, I was so confused about how people that are, we all have the same goal of having a thriving region that's safe for everybody, that's inclusive. I don't know, to protect our Bayfront, for Pete's sakes. So I just don't know how or why. I'd just like to know why this happened after my request was turned down, and then how could this, and why, first of all, how could you vote on it after you said you couldn't vote on it, number one, and then number two, why would you support something like this not following the process that was set in place by the environmental, anyway, so thank you, honey, you're right. I did ask for this and forgot about it. Because it's been 3 months.
Yeah, it has been a while for sure.
So do you remember who actually made the motion and who seconded it? And maybe those are the people that could start by sort of explaining how could you have this motion when you couldn't have the motion when I made brought it up earlier.
So Lisa, I don't have that specific information in front of me. And I honestly, I would have to go back and look because I just cannot recall.
Well, and I'll tell you what, it's a late hour. We're all exhausted. And I know everybody means well, and I don't want to belabor this, but I'm very, very interested in understanding this further. Can we maybe, like, after you come back from your vacation, can we just bring this up when we don't have such a full agenda and sort of, I'd really like to hear people's thinking.
Connie, can't you go back to the minutes of the previous meetings and pull it
Yes,
up?
I don't have that in front of me right now. Gina,
Right.
that's what I'm saying. That I can't just get that right now.
Right.
We table this for until you've had so for 2 months. Can we table it for 2 months and then talk about it unless we're packed with its schedule? But I really value your insights. I've learned so much from you talking to each of you, and so I just really want to understand this more. So if we could do it at a future date, that would be really helpful.
Sure.
Do you think in any way that this is going to make a difference in the project?
Well, you mean the lawsuit?
Yeah.
Well, I hope so. I hope that the lawsuit will force, I hope, the process to be followed. In other words, if PennDOT had done what it was supposed to do, which was to have an environmental assessment, what that environmental assessment would do is to actually determine not only the environmental impacts that are going to happen with doubling the traffic along the waterfront, but the impacts that it's going to have for the neighborhoods, like my neighborhood, that's going to be impacted by, the east and west sides are going to have a harder time getting to the waterfront. I know that there's discussion about, oh, well, they're going to put in pedestrian overpasses, but that actually is a Band-Aid on a problem that they're making worse. It doesn't, the proposal, anyway, so in other words, I know it's getting too late for me to get into the weeds here with the details, but yes, I believe that this lawsuit can force, I believe, the process to be followed. And if the process is followed, I think that with all of the changes in our economy and growing awareness of the need for walkability, I think that $100 million that they're talking about spending to widen the roadway will probably be rethought.
Do you know when this thing will go to court?
It's in court now. It's been filed. It was filed December 15th. And again, I'm not involved in this. I'm not a party to it, so I don't know any of the details. But I read in the paper that the people have 3 months to respond. So that would put us into March 15th, and we're getting very close to that.
Okay, thank you. Being as there's not much we can do about it until Honey looks up some of this stuff, I think we should move on because it is getting late in the hour, and I know people are getting tired. Do you mind if we move on to new business?
I'd like that. I don't want to. I think it's not. I'd like to make a motion to end the darn meeting, frankly.
Well, okay. If you want to make a motion, Lisa makes the motion to adjournment. Do I have a second?
I'll have a second.
Paul?
Aye.
Okay, everybody in favor? Aye.
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 Against? No. It is so approved. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all. And
Goodbye, everyone.
get your shots for the shingles because I've got it, and I'll tell you what, you don't want to get it.